This happened last month. I'm Evan, 32, and I deliver pizzas part-time to help pay my bills while working on my graphic design portfolio. I've lived in this small town my entire life. It's quiet, pretty much what you'd expect from a place with a diner and a handful of local shops. I thought I was familiar with every street until last month turned everything upside down that I was finishing my shift one rainy evening when an order came in from a house I'd never delivered to. This house sat at the end of a narrow street. I parked my car and got out into the rain. The air felt heavy, like something was waiting. I could barely see the numbers on the house. It looked dilapidated, vines creeping up the sides. As I walked toward the front door, I noticed a dim porch light flickering. I felt a chill run down my spine. There were strange symbols drawn on the walls, like the kind you see in movies about cults. I knocked, hesitated, then waited a good 30 seconds before the door creaked open. Nobody stood there, but I could feel eyes watching me from a window nearby. My stomach twisted as I handed over the pizza. Over the next few weeks, I got more orders from that same house, each odder than the last. One time, they wanted extra toppings I'd never seen before. I drove there, and this girl I didn't recognize answered the door. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, her skin so pale. She whispered something strange that made my heart race, but I couldn't make sense of it. Each time I delivered there, I noticed noises coming from the house. Sometimes I thought I heard chanting, other times it sounded like something heavy dragging across the floor. I even recorded my deliveries on my phone just to have proof of the strange orders, but when I listened later, all I heard was static, like something was blocking the sound. One night, I arrived and saw a figure standing in the yard. It was just a shadow, but it felt wrong. My pulse raced. I squinted, trying to see more details, but I couldn't see a face. I parked the car, my hands shaking. Did it move? I wasn't sure. I was so freaked out that I called the pizzeria, thinking maybe it was a joke, but nobody answered. Then, one night just before dropping off another pizza, I noticed a message scrawled on the door. It said, "Leave it and run." I felt my heart hammer in my chest. So I did. I dropped the pizza on the porch and hurried back to my car, glancing back just once. I don't know what happened next. I think I saw the shadow moving closer, but maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. All I know is I left that night, and I've never been back since. But the unsettling feeling doesn't go away. What did I stumble upon? What really lies behind those walls? I still think about that house. What happened to the girl? Why did they keep ordering? I don't think I'll ever know. The days passed after that last delivery, and I told myself to forget about it. I tried to focus on my design work, but every time I sat down with my sketches, the shadows of that house crept into my thoughts. I felt ridiculous calling the pizzeria about it. Who would believe me? But I couldn't help it. Something deep inside me said to find out more. One afternoon, driven by curiosity or maybe something darker, I found myself back in that neighborhood. My heart pounded with every turn. I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. I parked a safe distance away, then walked quietly toward the house. The air felt different, electric. I approached the door, half expecting to see the ominous message again. Instead, an envelope lay on the porch. My breath caught. Did I want to know what was in it? I glanced around, but the street was empty. I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a small, crumpled piece of paper with an address scrawled hastily in dark ink. I recognized it as a location just outside of town, a forgotten old chapel that had been abandoned for years. My heart raced. Was this a clue? Or a trap? I stood there for what felt like ages before deciding to take the risk. I put the envelope in my pocket and headed back to my car, the weight of the decision heavy on my shoulders. When I reached the chapel, dusk was settling in. The building loomed overhead, its once bright exterior now faded and cracked. I could feel a chill creeping into the air. Walking around to the back, I peered through broken windows. Inside, I could see stacks of old pews and a pulpit covered in dust. The shadows played tricks on my eyes, then I heard a faint whispering, barely audible. It was coming from inside. My instincts screamed at me to leave, yet the curiosity pulled me closer. I stepped through the open door, and as soon as I did, the whispering stopped. I listened, holding my breath. My heartbeat filled my ears. Just silence that I moved cautiously down the aisle, the floor creaking beneath my weight. The atmosphere felt thick. That's when I saw a shadow darting past one of the side rooms. I froze. It was gone too quickly to make out any details, but something told me I wasn't alone. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. Cold dread washed over me. I turned slowly, my heart pounding like a drum. Someone was in the chapel with me. And they were getting closer. I wanted to turn and run, but my feet wouldn't move. What if I faced the truth of what had been haunting me? What if I didn't? The option to flee danced in my mind, but the pull of the unknown held me still. In that moment, I had to choose. The shadow drew nearer, and my instinct to retreat battled with a desperate need to know. As the shadow neared, a voice broke the silence. You shouldn't have come here. My blood ran cold. I didn't recognize the voice. I was about to find out exactly what I'd stumbled into, and I didn't think I'd like the answer. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. Who are you? I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. But my voice quivered, betraying my fear. I strained to see the figure that was closing in on me, my eyes adjusting to the dim light. The shadow materialized into a person. He stepped into a more defined patch of light, and I recognized him. It was the delivery guy from before, the one who'd been so anxious during our last meeting. His eyes were wide, reflecting something between fear and urgency. Listen, he said, glancing over his shoulder as if afraid someone might overhear us. You shouldn't have done this. They don't want anyone poking around. Who doesn't want me here? I asked, my mind spinning. He shook his head in disbelief, his hands clenching into fists. The owner's people associated with the pizza place. They're involved in something sinister. They can't know you're here. I stumbled backward, tripping over an old pew. What are you talking about? Why do you care? You work for them. I used to. His voice turned urgent. That place is a front. The deliveries aren't what you think. I got out before it was too late. You have to leave right now. I studied him, trying to understand. The feeling in the pit of my stomach twisted further. What do you mean a front? For what? Before he could answer, a loud bang echoed through the chapel, making me jump. The sound resonated from one of the side rooms, sending a shiver down my spine. I caught a flash of movement out of the corner of my eye. Another figure? Stay close, he said, edging towards the door. We need to get out of here. Panic surged. I grabbed his arm. Wait. What if? But he yanked me toward the exit. I could see the door, the safety of the outside world just a few steps away. Then, before we could reach it, the door slammed shut with a deafening thud that I felt my stomach drop. This wasn't just a mistake anymore, we were trapped. Get down. He shouted as he pushed me behind a pew. I followed his lead, heart racing. We can't stay here. I whispered frantically. I didn't want to make any noise, but dread clouded my thoughts. What do we do? He pulled out his phone and quickly scanned what looked like a message. They know we're here. They're coming. My skin prickled. I thought about all those deliveries, the whispers, the shadows. The pieces were starting to fit together, but not in a way that made sense. Suddenly, the back door burst open, and heavy boots thundered inside, shattering the stillness with urgency. I tensed, knowing that whatever was about to happen could change everything. And I was right in the middle of it. That's when I realized, this was bigger than either of us, and we were part of something far more dangerous than delivery pizzas. "Stay quiet," he hissed, and I nodded, holding my breath as they drew closer. The dread of discovery loomed over us like an unshakable shadow. The sound of heavy boots echoed closer, each step crashing through the silence. My heart pounded as I pressed myself against the cold wood of the pew. I could barely hear my own breath over the noise. The delivery guy glanced at me, a look of desperation etched on his face. "Just breathe. They won't see us if we're quiet." I wanted to nod, to give him some sign that I understood, but a part of me was frozen with fear. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was exactly where they wanted us. The footsteps stopped mere feet away. "How many times do we have to do this?" a gravelly voice asked from the shadows. There was an edge of irritation in it, like being forced to deal with a recurring annoyance. "I don't know, maybe keep a closer watch," another voice replied. This one was smoother, confident. "We can't let anyone get in here and dig up more than they need to." I shifted slightly, peeking out from behind the pew. I could see two figures now, dark silhouettes standing in the doorway. One had his back turned, while the other scanned the room, looking for any signs of life. The sharpness of his gaze made my skin crawl. "What are we going to do?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. "Just wait," he replied, eyes darting around, searching for an escape. "I think I can get us out of here, but it might take a moment." The gravelly voice spoke again. "We need to clean up soon. Whoever's sniffing around won't stop until they find what they're looking for. Better make sure no one else shows up. If she's still here, they'll suspect something," the smooth voice replied. My breath caught at the mention of she. Could they be talking about me? The delivery guy's expression hardened. "They're talking about you. If they find us, I can't let them hurt you." Before I could respond, the door creaked slightly open. A beam of light cut through the darkness, illuminating the back wall of the chapel. My instinct was to retreat further behind the pew, but I felt the delivery guy grip my arm tightly, holding me in place, waiting. "Did you hear that?" the smooth voice said suddenly. My heart plummeted. "No," said the other, but I could hear the uncertainty in his tone. Just then, the crack of a branch echoed outside. Like a gunshot in the night, it sent shock waves through the atmosphere. The figures tensed, their bodies shifting as they turned toward the sound. I heard the shuffle of their feet, felt the tension rise like a rubber band pulled too tight. "That came from the south side," the gravelly voice said, stepping further into the room. In that moment of distraction, adrenaline surged within me. I could either remain hidden, hoping they wouldn't catch me, or I could make a break for it. "Now!" the delivery guy whispered fiercely. And before I could become paralyzed by fear, I bolted from behind the pew, racing for the side door. Then everything went dark. The room shifted and I lost my footing, tumbling into the shadows beyond. I scrambled to my feet, but the sound of running footsteps chased after me. I couldn't look back. "Keep running!" the delivery guy yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. But I heard another voice, this one softer yet dripping with malice. "We've found her." A new realization hit me with a jolt. I had just entered a nightmare I wasn't prepared for, and my escape was only beginning. I stumbled through the darkness, my heart racing as I searched for a way out. The heavy footsteps echoed behind me, relentless and unforgiving. The delivery guy's warning echoed in my head, a mantra of urgency driving my feet forward. I turned a corner and skidded to a halt, faced with an unexpected choice, a narrow staircase descending into the abyss or a dimly lit hallway stretching ahead. I could hear them getting closer, their voices floating on the air. "She can't get far. Find her." I quickly darted down the staircase, desperate for cover. The wooden steps creaked under my weight. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay silent. The darkness engulfed me, wrapping around like a heavy blanket. At the bottom, I found myself in a cramped storage room, crates piled high, creating a maze. Taking a deep breath, I hid behind a stack of boxes, my pulse racing. I could hear the men's voices filtering down the staircase, their tones laced with frustration. She must be down there. Check the storage area. I held my breath, forcing myself to quiet the rapid beating of my heart. A creak of the floorboards above sent a spike of fear through me. I had to keep it together. They were hunting me. Just then, my eyes caught a glint of metal in the corner of the room. I peered closer and saw a rusty crowbar. It wasn't much, but it could help defend myself if needed. I reached for it and gripped it tightly, feeling its weight settle in my palm. Find her. One of the men shouted from above. The urgency in his voice made my skin prickle. I couldn't remain hidden for long, that I needed a plan. I scanned the room, eyeing the boxes. Maybe if I made a distraction, I could slip out unnoticed. I grabbed a small crate and sent it crashing to the ground, creating a raucous sound. Immediately, I heard footsteps rush in my direction, their urgency turning into outright panic. Over here. I heard something. One of them yelled as they bounded down the stairs. That I took my chance, darting to the side door that led to the outside. It creaked as I nudged it open, revealing the cool night air. But first, I had to make sure they wouldn't see me. Peeking through the crack, my heart sank as I spotted the figures now looming near the staircase. They heard the noise. She's here somewhere. Search everywhere. The gravelly voice commanded, and I clenched the crowbar. At that moment, I realized it wasn't just my life on the line, I was caught in something much larger. But what mattered most was my escape. Then I saw movement, someone shifting in the shadows. Another person? Were they here to help or hinder? My mind raced with questions, but as the figures turned back, I knew I had to work fast. That I made a break for it, slipping through the door into the night, breathless, clutching the crowbar. But before I could take another step, a hand grabbed my shoulder, and I froze. The moonlight revealed my captor, a familiar face from my past. The last person I expected to see. We need to talk, they said, their tone urgent and serious, the very thing I feared most about this night now looking me in the eye. I turned to face the familiar figure, my breath catching in my throat. The last person I wanted to see after everything was Jamie. We hadn't spoken since the fallout years ago, and now here they were, looking as haunted as I felt. What are you doing here? I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. There's no time for questions, Jamie replied, their eyes darting over my shoulder. They're coming. You need to trust me. Trust them? My heart raced with a mix of fear and anger. I wanted to push them away, to scream that I didn't need help. But the muffled shouts from the men near the staircase pulled me back to reality. I had to make a decision, and fast. Why should I? I shot back, clutching the crowbar tighter, the metal cold against my palm. You just show up out of nowhere? They're not who you think they are. Jamie said, desperation creeping into their voice. We need to move now. I hesitated, torn between wanting to run and wanting to know why Jamie was here. The sounds of footsteps echoed louder as I glanced over my shoulder, and the grip on my crowbar reminded me of my current danger. Okay, fine, I muttered. Lead the way. Jamie nodded and took off into the shadows, edging toward a narrow alley beside the building. I followed, staying close, my instincts screaming at me to be alert. The fear pulsed through me, but I needed to know if I could trust Jamie again. As we maneuvered through the maze of the alley, Jamie spoke in quick whispers. I know what they're after. It's bigger than you and me. You have to listen. Bigger? What do you mean? I whispered back, trying to focus on the path ahead while my mind spun with possibilities. They've been following you since the delivery. They think you've got something they want, Jamie said, glancing back to make sure we weren't being followed. What do I have that they want? My voice was tinged with skepticism. It felt ludicrous that I could be of any interest to them. They believe you have the package. The one that was delivered to your door. My stomach dropped. What package? My confusion deepened, and I struggled to grasp the implications behind Jamie's words. Just keep moving, Jamie urged, leading me deeper into the maze. We turned another corner, and I froze when I spotted a flicker of flashlights approaching. Panic coursed through me. They're here. We have to go. Jamie pulled me back, pushing us behind some trash bins. The shadows swallowed us both as we crouched, breaths unsteady and quiet. I could feel every tremor of fear course through my body, every noise amplified. The flashlights played their eerie dance over the ground, drawing closer. Where are you? A voice called out, and panic tightened my throat. Then everything went dark. The lights flickered, and the street seemed to disappear. Jamie grabbed my arm, pulling me deeper into the shadows just as a shout erupted from behind us. I didn't know what was waiting for us at the end of this alley, but I felt the weight of secrets and danger pressing down harder than ever, and my heart raced with the knowledge that I had unwittingly become part of something I never wanted to be involved in. The darkness closed around us like a thick blanket. I stumbled as Jamie pulled me, my heart thudding against my ribs. I could barely see, only a faint outline of the alley remained visible. My breath was shallow, each inhale sharp with fear. Keep moving, Jamie whispered urgently. I nodded, although every instinct told me to stop to do something. Questions flooded my mind, but I pushed them down. Now wasn't the time. Just ahead, Jamie pointed to a faint glow, like the dim light of a dying bulb. There's a door. We can get inside. As we crept towards it, the echoes of shouting faded for a moment. I just hoped we could put enough distance between ourselves and whoever was after me. We reached the door and Jamie twisted the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged again. What now? I hissed, looking over my shoulder into the thick shadows. Help me, Jamie said, and together we shoved against the door. With one last effort, it gave way. The creak echoed in the alley, and I winced, glancing behind us. We stumbled into what looked like an abandoned storage room. Dust hung in the air, and broken crates cluttered the floor. Jamie slipped inside, and I followed, quickly shutting the door behind us. Is this safe? I whispered, my voice trembling. I don't know, Jamie replied, wild-eyed. But it's better than out there. Just then, heavy footsteps approached. My breath caught again, and I pressed my back against the door, my fingers gripping the knob. We listened, hearts pounding in synchrony, as the clatter came closer. I didn't think they'd find us so quickly, Jamie murmured, a hint of dread in their voice. Who are they? My mind raced, desperate for answers. What do they want from me? They want the package. Jamie finally snapped. I thought you'd know what I was talking about. But I don't. I protested. There's nothing here except. I glanced around the dimly lit room, then noticed a small sealed box among the debris. It sat half-hidden beneath a broken crate. A chill shot through me. Wait, is that? That could be it, Jamie said, eyes widening. I approached cautiously, pulling the crate away to reveal the box fully. It was plain, unremarkable, but something compelled me to touch it. Be careful, Jamie warned, but I could sense the urgency in their voice. Before I could think it through, I reached for the box. Just then, a loud crash jolted me, resonating from the door. They're here. I yelled, panic-mixed adrenaline flooding my veins. The door rattled violently. I dropped the box, but my instincts kicked in, and I grabbed the crowbar again, ready to defend ourselves. My heart raced as I heard voices shouting in the hallway. Check the back. One commanded. I don't have much time, Jamie said, hastily looking around. If they find us with that box, it'll be over. Then, it clicked. What's in it? My voice was barely a whisper. I can't tell you everything right now, Jamie said, urgency palpable. But it's dangerous. You need to decide if you're in or out. Before I could respond, the door blasted open, and I braced myself for the worst, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Then everything fell silent, and a figure stepped into the doorway. The figure stood there, partially silhouetted against the harsh light from the hallway. I couldn't see their face, but their posture radiated confidence, maybe even menace. My body tensed, ready to act. Who are you? Jamie demanded, stepping slightly in front of me, as if to protect me. The hallway was eerily quiet, the silence only broken by my quickened breathing. The figure took a step closer, and it was then I recognized the shadowy outline of a man in a long coat. You shouldn't have the box, he said in a low voice, each word edged with authority. What do you want? I blurted out, my pulse hammering. I want what's inside, he replied, glancing at the floor where the box lay. My heart sank. I could feel the urgency in Jamie's grip on my arm. We were cornered. Get back, Jamie. I hissed, but the warning felt weak against his presence. Jamie stood firm, glancing at me. We can't let him take it. We need to leave, now. I stole another glance at the box. Was it really worth risking everything? Before I could process my thoughts, the man lunged forward. Jamie shoved me aside, barely missing a grasping hand. Run! Jamie shouted. My instincts kicked in, and I bolted for the back of the room. I ducked low, zigzagging through the stacks of debris. I could hear Jamie moving behind me, the sound of our footsteps muffled by the dust on the floor. The man's footsteps echoed louder as he chased us. You think you can escape? His voice was a sinister promise that made me run faster. I spotted a small window ahead, partially covered by grates. It was our only way out. They're out the window. I yelled, desperation clawing at me. Jamie reached it first. Help me. They gasped, struggling to pull the grates apart. I rushed to assist, frantically prying at the metal until it finally gave. Quick! Just then, the man's shadow blotted out the dim light from the doorway, and I felt a surge of panic. I pushed Jamie through, and they landed with a thud on the ground below. I squeezed through the opening just as I heard the man curse behind me. I hit the ground hard, but I didn't look back. We scrambled to our feet, and I felt the chill of the night air. Which way? I asked, breathless and disoriented. Left. Jamie pointed, and we dashed down the alley, adrenaline fueling our flight. We could still hear the man's angry shouts behind us, his voice laced with frustration. You can't run forever. I glanced back. The alley offered little cover, and we needed to figure out our next move before he caught up. Why do they want that box so badly? I asked, a knot tightening in my stomach. I'll explain later, Jamie panted. We need to find a place to hide and regroup. That's when I saw it, an old maintenance shed barely illuminated by the flickering light of street lamps. There! I shouted, leading the way that we ducked inside, slamming the door behind us and locking it. Panting, I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my racing heart. But the silence in the shed churned with tension. I could sense Jamie's fear. What now? Before Jamie could answer, we heard a loud bang against the door. The sound echoed ominously, shaking my resolve. I turned to Jamie, is this going to end tonight? And just as Jamie opened their mouth to respond, a voice came from outside. You can't hide from me forever. The door rattled again, harder this time. My heart sank while I scanned the dim shed for something, anything, we could use. There had to be a way to hold him off. Jamie paced restlessly, their eyes darting around like a trapped animal. Listen, I whispered, we can't just sit here. We need a plan. Before Jamie could respond, the voice from outside cut through the quiet, smooth yet threatening. "You can't escape your fate. The box will be mine." I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. Who was he? Why didn't he just give up? I crouched low, trying to peer through a cracked window. The darkness outside seemed alive, the shadows shifting, flitting against the faint light. "Do you see anything?" Jamie asked nervously. "Just darkness," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I turned back to look at them, my mind racing. "But I need to know what's so important about that box. I promise I'll explain everything, but first we need to stay quiet." Jamie's voice trembled, but I could see their determination rising. There was another bang against the door, and this time it felt like the building itself trembled. "You think hiding will save you?" the man taunted. "Your time is running out." A wild thought crossed my mind. What if we find a back exit? Maybe there's another way out of here. "There should be," Jamie replied, their eyes brightening with newfound hope. "Let us look around." We both began to scour the shed, searching for anything that resembled an escape. Old tools and cobweb-covered supplies lined the walls, but nothing looked useful. My heart sank again as I spotted a heavy toolbox in the corner. I moved toward it, hoping there might be something in there we could use to defend ourselves, or at least barricade the door. Just as I reached for the lid, another loud thud echoed at the door. Splinters starting flying off the frame, and I knew we were running out of time. I glanced back at Jamie, feeling panic rising. "Here." I pulled the toolbox open but only found rusty tools. "This is useless. Let us try the back," Jamie urged, pointing toward a door on the other side of the shed. Without thinking twice, we hurried over. I twisted the doorknob and found it locked. "Great," I muttered, feeling doom swallow me whole. "Step aside," Jamie shouted, and before I could object, they aimed their shoulder at the door. The hinges creaked as Jamie slammed against it, but it held firm. "Again," I shouted, and together we pushed with all our might. With one final shove, the door cracked open, just enough to squeeze through. "Go!" I yelled, shoving Jamie ahead of me. Just as I stepped outside, the man's voice split the air once more, this time closer. "You think you can escape?" We bolted into the night. The air felt electric as the threat loomed behind us. My lungs burned, my heart raced, and I scanned for safety. That was when I saw a flicker of light up ahead, a small coffee shop that looked surprisingly open. "There!" I gasped, pointing. As we sprinted toward the light, I was suddenly hit with the realization that this was just the beginning. The man wouldn't stop. He wouldn't give up on the box. What if we hadn't escaped for good? I felt a wave of dread wash over me. Then came the chilling sound of footsteps behind us, growing louder, faster. "I will find you." It was then I realized we were not just running for our lives, we were also running out of time. The coffee shop doors burst open, and I slid inside, dragging Jamie with me. The warm glow of the lights felt like a false promise of safety. Inside, the barista raised an eyebrow, bewildered by our frantic entrance. I scarcely noticed. "We need to call the police," I gasped, but the memory of the man's persistent threats pressed heavy on my chest. "No," Jamie hissed, urgency radiating from their eyes. "They won't help us. If they find us here, they'll come for the box." My thoughts raced. "What do you mean? What's so special about it?" "I wish I had time to explain," Jamie said, glancing nervously back toward the entrance. "But it's linked to something dark. A cult, maybe. They think it has power." The barista was obviously becoming alarmed, and a knot of panic twisted tighter in my stomach. "Just sit down and act normal," Jamie urged, moving towards a corner booth. I followed, trying to obscure the tension tightly coiling between us. The door jingled ominously behind me, and my heart skipped a beat. Two figures stepped inside, their silhouettes dark against the bright backdrop of the cafe. Fear poured through me as I recognized the gravelly voice from the chapel. "Check everywhere," he commanded, an undertone of menace lacing his words. "They were here." I glanced at Jamie, who was scanning the cafe, eyes wide. "What do we do?" I whispered, my voice barely holding together. "Just breathe." "We can't show we're scared," Jamie replied, their own voice trembling slightly. The men began walking past tables, eyes scanning the faces of hurried customers, anxiety curling tighter in my gut. They were searching. Could they sense our fear even now? The barista was oblivious to my panic. She continued making drinks, the sound of the espresso machine humming a rhythmic reminder that the nightmare was lurking just outside the door. "It's not safe here," Jamie murmured, barely speaking above a breath. "We need to figure out our next move." I wanted to reach out and shake them back into the present, to scream that they needed a plan, anything, but just then, the tall man with the dark coat stopped near our booth, a glimmer of recognition lighting up his eyes. "You!" he shouted, and the dread in my stomach turned to ice. "Let us go." Jamie yanked me up just in time, ripping me away from the encroaching danger. We dashed towards the back exit, my pulse roaring in my ears. Behind us, I heard the man call out to his companion. "They're getting away." I focused on the door ahead, plastered with posters, like it was the only thing in existence. Jamie was ahead, bursting through the door just as the sound of heavy boots thundered behind us. I followed, heart racing with a mixture of exhilaration and fear. Outside, the alley was dark, the faint moon shining dimly above us, guiding our frantic escape. A street lamp flickered ominously, but I didn't stop to question it. We hurried away from the coffee shop, breathless in our flight. "Where do we go now?" I gasped, the reality of our pursuers settling back in. "They can't keep chasing us forever," I said, as if telling myself that would make it true. "That box has what they want," Jamie said, their desperation creeping back. "We need to find a place to hide it, something they can't trace back to you. You've got to decide, Evan. Keep the box and uncover the truth, or abandon it and risk everything." I was out of breath, fear seeping into my bones. "I don't even know what's in it," I admitted, a tremor in my voice. "You have no idea how dangerous it is out there, and no idea who's really coming for you." Jamie shot back, frustration mixing with fear behind their eyes. A thought struck me: an old warehouse just outside of town. A lot of stories surrounded it. It had been abandoned for years. "The old glass factory," I said suddenly. "It might have a place we can stash the box." Jamie nodded, eyes lighting up with a hint of hope. "Let us move." We took off, racing toward the factory, the shadows stretching behind us, anxious to close in again. Time was slipping through our fingers like sand, but the gnawing questions pulsing in my mind remained unanswered, dancing just beyond my reach. What secrets did that box hold? And why did I feel something watching me, not just from the shadows of the night but from within myself? As we reached the rickety entrance, I couldn't shake the feeling that even if we hid the box, if I ever truly escaped whatever was lurking just out of sight, it remained a part of me, an ambiguity I might never escape. With my heart in my throat, I slipped through the doorway, hoping against hope that this would be the last stand until the truth finally surfaced.